I'm going to tell you about a new operator introduced in Rx version 6.1, the TakeUntil cancellation token operator. So in October 2025, we've released version 6.1 of RxNET. It's a new minor version release because we've got new features in there, but no breaking changes. The new features are dispose with, which I'll talk about in a different video, the TakeUntil cancellation token operator, which is the topic for this video, and also one called reset exception dispatch state. Now, if you've been following the recent progress of Rx, you'll be aware that we're also looking to solve some long-standing packaging problems. That has not been done in the 6.1 release. That's coming in v7. Okay, so let's take a look at this new operator, TakeUntil cancellation token. So just to start with, I should say thank you to the community people who have helped this come into being. So this was originally suggested as a slightly different form of feature, then changed shape. So the original proposal came from someone whose name I suspect I will mispronounce, but I will try anyway, Nils Aufschläger. So thank you for the initial proposal. And he also did the work to implement this, but the design changed during the discussion. And that is partly thanks to Daniel Weber, who chipped into the conversation and suggested a completely different approach from the one that Nils originally wanted to take. So what exactly is this? What's the purpose behind this new operator? Because we've had TakeUntil in various forms for a long time in Rx. Basically, it says take all the elements from this source until some criterion is met. And the new feature is that we are able to stop taking elements to complete the source when a cancellation token gets signaled. And the purpose of this is to enable you to take an infinite source, so some source that would never complete on its own. So things like the interval timer are like this, but also the event sources that come from events in .NET. If you adapt a regular .NET event into an Rx source, it never completes by itself. And that was actually the original motivation for this, was to enable those sorts of event sources to be completed. The original design was going to be a specialized disposable implementation, but when we looked at that, it was kind of awkward. We didn't really have any other things that were both disposables and observables, and it wasn't clear how you would implement something that was both in a way that fit in well with the existing examples of those kinds of types in Rx.NET. So Daniel Weber's suggestion was that actually we could get the same effect, we could say it solved the same problem by introducing this new overload of TakeUntil that takes a cancellation token, and it's actually more flexible. It can work with anything that produces cancellation tokens, and we already have the cancellation disposable in Rx.NET, which gives you a thing that you can dispose and which sets a cancellation token when you do so. So that was the way we moved forward. Okay, so let's see this in action. I've got a very simple Rx example here. This is using the interval operator that's been built into Rx forever, and this is just going to raise events every second. So it's going to produce the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on indefinitely. And the thing about interval is that it never stops. So when I run this, it's just going to keep on producing numbers again and again and again and again until either we unsubscribe or the process exits. So we could just unsubscribe. So the subscribe method does return an iDisposable, and we could hang on to that and then just call dispose on that. And that will certainly shut things down. However, what it won't do is enable the complete event to flow through. So when you unsubscribe, you never see the onCompleted, or at least you might not see it. It's possible you'll see it during your call to subscribe, but there's no guarantee. So if you definitely want to see that, you really want the source itself to shut down. And that's the idea of this new operator, or this new overload of the TakeUntil operator. So we're going to need a cancellation token. So I'm going to use a cancellation disposable, which is a type that has been built into Rx for a very long time. And that is able to provide us with a cancellation token. So what we can do is say, let's actually take items from this until that cancellation token is set. And what I can now do is if I add a couple more things in here, if I dispose of that cancellation disposable after the first time someone hits enter, that should shut down this observable. Let me just print out another thing here saying disposed. and then we're going to keep running until we get a second key press. So if I run this now, then as before, it starts producing numbers, and it will do so, or the underlying interval source will do that indefinitely. But if I hit enter, that disposes the cancellation disposable, and that causes the cancellation token to enter the cancelled state. And then our TakeUntil operator says, oh, okay, we're done then. And we should now be able to see, if I add to my subscribe a second callback that says completed. If I run this one more time, so that's producing numbers. I'm going to hit enter to cause it to dispose that. And you can see right away, the source completes properly. So this subscription has been shut down from the source end. We haven't unsubscribed. We've caused the source itself to complete. And that is what TakeUntil enables us to do. So in summary, this new TakeUntil operator overload enables us to cause otherwise infinite sources to complete when we want them to. So if you want to use this, you need to get hold of system.reactive 6.1, and you need to then get a cancellation token from somewhere. And you can use Rx's cancellation disposable as one way of doing that. And then you just pass the token into the new TakeUntil overload. If you want more details, we've documented this operator on the intro to rx.com site. And meanwhile, I'm Ian Griffiths. Thanks for listening.